It's time for the Hockey Writers Grindline, a weekly show covering everything Detroit Red Wings. Brought to you by our own iconic top line of Wings writers. Sit back and enjoy The Grind.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back into another episode of The Grind Line here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and as always, I'm joined in by my line mates, Evan Sabourin and Devin Little. Devin, how's it going? We've got a 3-game winning streak going on, so lots of positive stuff going on in the last week. How's it going?
Yeah, honestly, it's been such a good week that once we get into one good, one bad, I don't know if I'm going to be able to come up with a bad, but
Right?
that's always our favorite kind of weeks, right? So, yeah, happy to be here with both of you, and excited to talk about another week of Red Wings hockey.
All right. Yeah, Evan, how's it going?
Oh, it's been an awesome week, man. That Avs game, it never gets old, beating the Avs. Doesn't matter
Absolutely.
how or where. That was a great game, and I think that was one of the best games I've seen the Wings play in a while. They were really firing on all cylinders that game. And that Justice and kid, he played a decent game, but man, the
Yes,
Red
he
Wings,
did.
that Clark into Kane goal, that's the Red Wings goal of the year for me. That was something else.
Yeah, so they beat the Avalanche 2-1 and the Kraken 4-3 and then 5-0 against the Flames. So really good week since we last met. I mean, we were coming off what? 4-1 loss to the Canucks, 8-4 loss to the Oilers. So yeah, great 3 games right after that. So I think everything is good in Red Wings land now. We're on the top of the good part of the roller coaster.
I think so. I mean, we're up, we're down,
Yep.
we're up, we're down.
Yep. Obligatory positive episode after a negative one.
Oh, it is. It's like we have a bad episode and a good episode. It's like
it's good because James Reimer, we were going all along the goaltending, and then Reimer posts the shutout. So
Sure did.
what are the odds? What are the odds?
Yeah, we had a comment on our last episode about are we gonna stop ragging on Reimer now that he's got a shutout? And I said, I'm like, right now it's fine.
Don't screw with it, man. We'll keep ragging on him, and maybe we'll get some more.
Yeah.
Play in the crease there.
For sure. All right, well, let's get into our one good, one bad for the week here, and probably a lot of good. We'll see if we have any bad we could talk about. But Devin, I'll get us started with our one good, one bad.
I am going to do 2 goods and a bad. I'll do the compliment sandwich, so to speak. Yeah, first and foremost, Reimer did post a shutout. That's the second of the season. Obviously, he hasn't been the most confidence-inspiring goaltender this season. But it's good to see him post a shutout, and then also just he was a big reason why they won that game. They won it 5-0, obviously. So he could have let in a couple and they still would have won, but just a really solid performance for him. And his last over his last two starts, he's actually stopped 66 of 68. So maybe the formula for him is basically just to use him sparingly, because when they aren't relying on him, he does well. It's when that they are like turning to him frequently that he plays the way he has, and we rag on him and commenters don't like it. But here he is. We're giving him his props. He deserved it. Absolutely. Way to go, Rhymes. Optimus Rhyme. My one bad is going to be honestly that we're now into the same part of the schedule, same time of year that the Red Wings last year had those games against the Lightning and the 2 back-to-back against the Senators. This time last year, we basically found out that the Red Wings were not for real and they were going to be sellers. So there's kind of maybe a little bit of like nervousness in the air. Like, are they going to do what they did last year? Are they going to look really good in the month of February, then fall apart at the end of it? Or are they going to continue doing what they're doing? I think they're going to continue doing what they're doing, but I wouldn't blame anybody if they're a little nervous right now. And then my last good is going to be Patrick Kane. He's on a 6-game point streak and has points in 7 of his last 8. He has 24 points in 25 games. We've said it before. I will say it again. He looks like Patrick Kane. and again, coming off of the injury he had, this is honestly more than you could have expected. If he was half a point per game, I would have been like, this is fantastic. He's basically he's a point per game. He looks like Chicago Patrick Kane. So that's I can't overstate how much of a seamless fit he has been in the Red Wings lineup since he joined.
He's been great, and apart from the little injury he had there, it's been all good, which we were worried about that he was going to have with that hip injury and how he's going to come back from it. Looks like it's fine. It's no problem. So everyone's been praying to the hip gods. It's
absolutely,
they've been listening.
Absolutely.
All right, Evan, over to you. What's good and the bad from the past week for you?
Well, I think I want to start my own segment here called Evan Eats Crow. It's I've ragged on Sherrod a lot this year, a lot. And we know that there's the evidence to prove it, but his play I feel like he's really stepped up this last month and a half or so for the Red Wings, and they really needed that out of him, especially when you consider his contract and what he was brought here to do. Yeah, I mean it's that goal. He's got a new nickname for himself. I saw today at practice. What was it called? Do you know what it was? Remember what it was?
OT Benny, something like that.
OT Benny, yeah, OT Benny after scoring his winner against the Kraken the other night. But he's not brought here for his offense. He's defensively, he's kept it better last month and a half or so. I think he's been really good. My bad, I mean, I don't really have any bads, to be honest with you. These last 3 games Devin already stole. I don't know why you get 2 goods, man. You're stealing my goods, but it's just you can see the improved play of this team. It finally feels like they're starting to get comfortable with each other. I thought it did take them a while for some of them to catch up to the speed of what Patrick Kane does bring to this team, and it looks like it's starting to pay off. I mean, they're really clicking on all cylinders. I'm loving the evolution of Lucas Raymond.
Absolutely.
I honestly think this kid's he's 21 years old and he's on pace for 70 points. Now that's huge. And his contract coming up this summer is going to be also huge, along with Siders. And but I'm really looking at, I think last year I kind of started to lose a little faith, but then at the same time, it's like you got to realize this is a kid, 20 years old. I was doing shots and hanging out in sorority houses at college. This kid's playing in the National Hockey League, and he's, I think he might be a star. I really do. I think he has the potential to be a star. When you're playing like this at 20, and you can see the confidence oozing out of him now. He's not passing up shots like he used to do last season, where we get all frustrated and yell at the TV. What he's taking the puck and he's doing something with it, and he looks like he's going to be the real deal. And I hope, at 21 years old, I hope they lock him up for a long time, because he's a guy that I think everybody in Detroit loves. He's he's been our highest draft pick since who was our highest draft pick since Keith Primo in 1989 or 90. I don't know. I was told to be
90,
90,
yeah. I think. Yeah.
So it's exciting, man. I really love watching this kid play now. And as he's gonna get bigger, he's gonna mature more, and I think we're gonna see big things out of him, and he's gonna be a big part of this organization for a long time.
Yeah, he's sure. I don't know if I'm gonna say, I guess, bounced back from his sophomore slump. I don't know if it was really a slump. I mean, he's still had decent numbers. He just didn't do as well as his rookie season. This season though, he's, like you say, on pace for 70 points. It's great to see, and the thing is, he's just going to get better, and he is really young. I mean, there's so much more potential, so much more he can do, and he's worth whatever they're going to pay him, and they're going to pay him. So it's exciting to see what else he has in store for the Red Wings in the future, because I think it's a big ceiling he's got. So look out for Raymond in the future for sure. Okay, so speaking of locking people up, we got an extension to talk about, and that was Michael Rasmussen getting a 4-year extension, 3.2 million AAV, which is a decent amount of money for a guy that's not really hit his potential yet. I don't think. Here's another guy that has a lot more to give, and we've talked about him being really good on that third line. He's earned the extension, I think. But I want to see your thoughts on it. Start with you, Evan. What do you think about this extension? It's like I say, decent amount. What do you think about this contract you just got?
Well, if you would have asked me 2 years ago, I would have hated it. But you can obviously see that he's becoming a very important part on this team. The thing with him is he's not gonna score 20, 30 goals a year. It's his versatility in the lineup. He's been playing on the top line the last 2 games. Defensively, he's been great. That shutdown third line, and it's decent money for a guy like him because he is a bottom six winger. He's a third or fourth liner. I don't think he's ever going to be on those top two lines consistently, but he's filled in admirably and he's done a good job. And defensively, he's worked hard. He's finally learning to use his body and his strength down low, and he creates havoc down low on the boards. And so I like the deal. I mean, the only person that's signed on the team longer than him is Larkin now.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of his game. I wasn't 2 years ago. I thought he was a bust. I thought at that number where we selected him at 9, I thought there was better players on the board. But, I think he's the type of guy that every contending playoff team needs on their third or fourth line. I think of every time I look at him, I think of Patrick Maroon. Just that big lugging. He's not a great skater guy, but he brings what he brings to the table on the third line, and he does it very well. And defensively, like I said, with the line that he's playing on with is it Kopp and Fisher, they've been great. And I think he's going to be, he's obviously going to be a piece of this team for the future.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 4 years is not a ridiculous amount of time. It's not like you got a 7-year contract. Seems like Yzerman likes the 4-year deals. He's in that range. He signs free agents around those. I love those. I don't like the 7-8 year deals. They're too long. 4 years is a good amount. You're not locked in too bad for a guy that he may decline in 2 years. And okay, we only have 2 years left. And then he's also able to be dealt in that time because teams are okay taking on a 2-year contract, but not a 6-year one. So it's a good deal. I think for what he's done so far, it's a good amount of money. It's not too much. It's not too little for a guy like that. But I do agree. I think he still has a lot more. I don't think he's going to end up being a top line guy, but a very good third line. I'd say a ceiling is second line, maybe, but so far so good for him.
I think he lacked confidence his first few years in Detroit, and I think this contract's really going to help him see that he's in the long-term plan. So when this team's ready to compete, he's going to be a key figure for this team. So I think that really helps him a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
He's a quiet guy off the ice. He's not a big loudmouth or whatever, but he's I think he's someone that needed this kind of boost, and I think this is going to be really good for him and
for sure. Devin, what are your thoughts about the Rasmussen deal? Good amount? What do you think?
Yeah, I think you can complain too much about 3.2 when the cap's going up, right? I think a couple of years from now we'll look at 3.2 and say that's about right for a useful, versatile bottom sixer. And who knows? Maybe Rasmussen does have another level to reach, and he can become a middle sixer. And at that point, that's a really high value contract. Ultimately, I think this is just like the ultimate example of somebody earning their keep, right? I think Evan touched on something that a lot of people would agree with 2 years ago. He was kind of, I don't want to say written off so much as just his draft slot really loomed over him. He even to this day, we all love Moose. We all appreciate him nowadays, but man, he's still not a player that you get at 9th overall. At least that's not the type of player you hope to get at 9th overall. I do to this day say that there were better players on the board, but they got a good one in Rasmussen, and that's obvious. It's a classic case of making lemonade out of lemons, really.
Mhm.
He's not going to be that if he's not going to be the top line player, that caliber of player, then at least find a way to make him useful, and I think he has. I think at this point it's obvious that he is better on the wing than he's on the middle, but he can slide to the middle if need be. I think that's a key thing for him and why the Red Wings value him so much. And then also he's a good example for the kids coming up, right? He was written off. He didn't necessarily live up to his draft slot. He really had to work at his game just to like become a viable everyday NHLer. And the team believed in him, gave him I believe he's in the last year of what was a 3-year deal. And now he's been rewarded for all of his hard work, and now he's going to be part of the Red Wings future for at least the foreseeable future, right? I think he's a good tone setter. I think he exemplifies a lot of what the Red Wings want to be at their peak. And honestly, he's just easy to cheer for. I think he's become a real fan favorite, and it's because of his hard work and because of how versatile he is, and honestly, because he just kind of goes about things the right way. I have all the time in the world for players like that, and I think the numbers good. I think the terms good, and I think the players good. I think all in all, I'm glad that Rasmussen wanted to stay in Detroit, and I'm glad that Eisman wanted to keep him in Detroit.
Well, you say he's one of those guys that you need for the playoffs, like you said, Evan, and he's going to be, I think, when the Red Wings do return, if it's this year, whatever, hopefully it's this year, that he is one of those. I think I said this, where that third line, I could see being really good in the playoffs, and because they can set an identity for a game, set an identity for a series. So I'm excited to see what he can accomplish in the next 4 years of this contract, and hopefully all 4 years are in the playoffs. We'll see. All right, off the rush, and I'll continue on these on contracts. Devin, predict what the next one will be. Who's next on the docket? We've got, what do you say? We already mentioned Zator, Raymond. There's a few other guys that could potentially be signed to extensions. Who's up?
Honestly, yeah, I think I might go with Evan on this one. I think it's gonna be Patrick Kane. The closer they get and the closer they get to clinching a playoff spot, and the longer they're just in the race in general, I think the more Kane feels better about the better Kane feels about his decision to sign with the Red Wings. And the more time he spends with the Red Wings, the more he sees what the future looks like for this team. Like I said when I was named him as part of my one good, I think the fit has been phenomenal between Detroit and Kane. I think he's next. I think for lack of better, I don't know if I'm going to phrase this correctly, but basically, I think it makes sense for Yzerman to kind of secure the extra pieces, so to speak, before he locks down the Raymonds and Zaitors, because Raymond and Zator are like, core foundational parts of what this team's going to be in the future. Whereas guys like Rasmussen and Kane aren't on that level in terms of like long-term picture. So I think it'll be smart for them to keep Kane around. I think that there's going to be interest both ways. And now it's just a matter of when the right time to do it is, basically.
For sure. Evan, I know you piped up first there. Is it Kane for you as well?
I think so, because I think Yzerman probably wants to figure this out before the trade deadline. I mean, it's definitely going to impact, the summer free agency. So I mean, God, the guy's on a heater right now. He's the top. He's the talk of Motown. He's the talk of the Red Wings right now, because he's just, God, he still looks like that Patrick Kane, man, and it's great. And it's a lot more than I expected. It's did not see it getting to this level, but he's been great out there. Defensively, not so much, but offensively, he's been awesome. Yeah, I think so. And then I think you got to start looking at Lucas Raymond. I think he's next on the board. I think Zator might take a little longer. I think there might be some negotiations back and forth there, but I don't see any issue with him getting signed. But yeah, Kane, I think, should be priority number one right now because if he's still effective at this level, and you also see what Sidney Crosby's doing, and he's older than Patrick Kane. He's
Yeah.
doing it. What he's doing at his age at 36 is pretty amazing. So if the Red Wings can get another year, like next year's going to be a big year for this team, and if they can get the same kind of production out of Patty Kane, lock him up now. I don't know how much he's gonna. I don't know what he's gonna want though. I don't. He seems to be happy in Detroit. He seems to really love it here. So I hope that Dyserman can work something out to keep him here because it's been fantastic so far.
Mhm.
And it's been exciting to watch. And there's that feeling, watching games now, or I can feel it through the TV. It's getting crazy at the LCA, and people love it. So let's
Yeah.
go.
There you go. Yeah, I think it's going to be Kane. Raymond very close second to me too, because that's a guy you need to get done pretty quickly. Although he's an RFA, so it's not like it's crazy urgency. But I mean, Sider is too. But Kane I think is a big thing, especially because of how well he's fit in. So I do agree with that too.
I want to see Sprong too signed.
Yeah, there's another guy.
I mean, I feel like that's the same kind of money should go to him that Rasmussen got, and I'm worried that this off season someone's going to give him big dollars and give him more minutes, and I don't know how that's going to work. But I mean, he's been quite a find for this team. And you see him try to go through the legs the other night? It was.
Oh yeah.
I like him. I like him. I think he's a great fit on this team. So I hope
Yeah.
they can work something out with him too, and not let him hit free agency.
I I will throw this out. Last year, like as we kind of stepped up to the deadline, that's when the Red Wings extended Olimata. That's when they got Larkin's deal finalized.
Mhm.
Here we are around the same time, right? And they got Rasmussen signed. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's one or two more extensions, probably just to, if anything, kind of give some clarity and some security to some of these players that have been hearing their names in the rumor mill, right?
Mhm.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to get these done soon, right?
Soon. Yeah. I could see it. I mean, Yzerman seems to want to get ahead of the game with certain things. So I wouldn't be surprised if something else came down the pipe in the next couple weeks here too. All right. Well, let's move. Well, before we move on, let's pay the bills and talk about our Substack here at the Hockey Writers. Great way to keep up to date with all the Red Wings articles that are at thehockeywriters.com. You get it two or three times a week, depending on how many articles we've got. Make sure signed up to that. There's also the premium tier that you can sign up for. That gets you game day previews, prospect reports, lots of other exclusive articles that you can't find in the free version, but in the paid version, you do get it. So make sure you're signed up and take a look at the link in the video description below. All right, moving on. We've spoke about the trade deadline. We're going to keep talking about the trade deadline until it's passed. So there are rumors going around. And Elliot Friedman recently linked the Red Wings to Jake Guentzel, assuming they can work out an extension, because you're not going to want to pay a bunch for a guy like that could end up walking at the end of this. And Red Wings aren't guaranteed a playoff spot either. So they could lose and not even make the playoffs, and Guentzel walks in free agency. I wonder, it's another big name that could potentially join the Red Wings here. Evan, what do you think about this? Are you in favor of Jake Guentzel coming to the Red Wings? And what would they have to give up to get a guy like that?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because he's already 30 years old. He's a consistent 40 goal scorer, high 30s. But man, it's hard to say with something like that because when you think of all the contracts that we just talked about that have to be signed coming up, and this guy's hitting unrestricted free agency after this season, it's hard to see, what his asking price probably is going to be, 6+ a year. So I don't know about that one. Someone brought up a different one to our Slack channel today, which was Pavel Buchnevich. Thought was an interesting one because Yzerman has a history of fleecing the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
I immediately responded to him because he is giving me some proposed deals, and I immediately sent him that Iserman meme where it says "Stay calm, this is a robbery." I don't know, like Buchnevich also interests me. You know, he's only 28, but I don't know. I can't see Iserman going for a huge big. It's if he wants to stay here and sign at a reasonable cost, depending on how much the cap goes up and all that too. But it's a risky move right now, and he's injured too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know about that one. I don't feel confident in it happening. But you know, Friedman likes to throw out rumors anyway because now everyone here is talking about it. So
Yeah.
I'm not feeling that one.
Devin, what do you think about Guentzel potentially coming to the Red Wings? Like I say, it's so many contracts that they have to sign. And there's another one they'd have to add to their plate. What do you think about that?
So I'll start this by saying if they are going to go after a player like Jake Guentzel, they probably have to give up Bergeron to get him, at least part of the package, right? Kyle Dubas just the other day was talking about how the Penguins need to get younger. They need to get younger players that can complement the likes of Crosby and Malkin and so on and so forth. I think Bergeron definitely fits the bill. So I think that the Red Wings can make a package that makes sense for the Penguins to accept, and at least they would consider it. But then you get into exactly that part of the conversation. Does it then make sense to add Guentzel on a 5, 6, 7, God forbid, 8-year deal? I don't know if it does. I really like the idea of adding Guentzel to the top 6 because I think that they really could use one more top 6 forward just to really pull it all together. And I think, you know, if you have Larkin, Raymond, and Guentzel on one line, and then DeBrincat, Comfer, and Kane on the other line, that's a pretty solid top 6, right? So like in a bubble, sign me up. That'd be a lot of fun. I think they'd score a lot of goals. But this team already is scoring a lot of goals. They don't necessarily need more firepower. It just would be like, I mean, it would be nice, right? If they're going to go big game hunting, I'd rather they go get another top 4 defenseman. I'm looking at Noah Hannafin or Rasmus Anderson over in Calgary as guys I'd want to target rather than Guentzel. But I see where Friedman's coming from, and like Evan said, it's all about getting people to talk about stuff right now, right? So who knows if there's even anything to it other than just like, yeah, that'd be fun. And it would be fun, but I think when it comes down to it, if the Red Wings are willing to invest the type of assets it will take to get a big fish, Bergeron, other prospects, and a first-round pick, crazy we're even talking about this, right? It makes more sense to me to add a legit top 4 defenseman than a top 6 forward. It's fun to think about.
Rasmus Anderson, didn't he get hit by a car on a scooter while he was in Detroit?
In Detroit, yeah.
Yeah.
Full circle moment.
That's a sign for him to, you know. He might not wait. He might not want to come here now, but
maybe things will go better for him if he's a local.
Yeah, it is an interesting thing. I mean, I would rather the Red Wings go after a defenseman too. I don't think they particularly need I mean, it'd be great, but they don't need one. Defenseman to round out that defense especially for the playoffs, I think is more of a priority. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know if Yzerman's going to make a big splash. I think Buchnevich may make more sense because he's got term. He's not a UFA. He's got, I think, a couple of years left on his contract, something like that. So this is a guy you'd be getting. That'd be a hockey trade more than a rental, potentially. Although I don't think Yzerman's going for Guentzel unless there's an extension included. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. There's so many rumors that float around at this time of year. It's hard to say what is real and what's just something to talk about. And we'll see what happens.
I think guys like Guentzel those are contending teams are going to go after someone like him.
100%, yeah.
So, because at 30 years old, I'm not signing an 30-year-old to a long-term contract, especially what he's going to want, especially with how young our core is and the money they're going to need. So that's why I don't see it happening.
For sure. Okay. Devin, you talked about at the beginning about the Red Wings being for real, and we were talking about last season. And then all of a sudden they lost a bunch of games and they were like, nope, they are not. And they didn't make the playoffs. Well, it happened at the same time this year, and they're on a 3-game winning streak, on a great run here. They are now 6 points ahead of the wild card race here in the first wild card spot, and pretty good spot, although it can change really quickly. Are they for real? Devin, are they for real?
It's tough because, like you said, they have a cushion now. They're not just like just barely in. They actually have like a little bit of breathing room. But man, if they have another December, right? If they have this a really bad losing streak out of nowhere, things get real tight real fast. They have to keep going, keep doing what they're doing in order to stay in this conversation. But with that being said, I feel a lot more confident about this year's team than I did about last year's team. Um, I don't think they're going to have an implosion like they did last year that led them to sell. So, in that sense, I think they're for real. I think this is a team to watch down the stretch. I think they're going to give it their absolute best shot to secure a playoff spot. I don't know if I'm ready to say for certain that they're going to be in the playoffs, but I think they're going to be right in it to the end. And I think that's all you could really ask for coming into this season.
Yeah, it is going to be it's going to be exciting and nerve-wracking and whatever for the rest of the season, I think. Evan, what about you? Are you on board with the Red Wings being for real now? Are we hoping for the playoffs a little more now?
I'm just hoping we don't come back for next week's recording and we're down every week. Yeah, I mean, this trade deadline can't get here soon enough for me. I'm excited to see what the team does. I honestly, I feel like there's not going to be a lot of moves. I think Yzerman has this team playing the way he wants it to be for now. And again, we got a lot of young kids that are, we're gonna have a different roster next year. There's going to be some young kids that are going to get opportunities, especially with the 1-year deals that were signed. But yeah, I mean, again, it's hard when you're a fan of the team. It's hard to really say, but yeah, I think right now they look pretty good, and I think you can see the team and everyone else, as I've harped on all day, is gaining confidence and they're getting more comfortable playing with each other. So I'm not 100% committed. I'm probably in the same boat as Devin. I think it's going to come down to the wire. I think there could be a move or two made that could help this team down the stretch, because I know Yzerman's going to want to get these guys some playoff experience because it's been a long time. So I'm not 100 next week. Give me next week and hopefully and then I can tell you if I feel confident enough. I'm really just not committed yet. I'm too nervous, waiting to see.
We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, six points is, like I say, it's a good cushion, but it's not insurmountable for other teams to get back. The Lightning have 2 games in hand on them. No, Detroit has 2 games in hand on the Lightning. I'm reading this wrong. Right. So they actually are in a pretty good position. And the Capitals are the ones, Capitals and the Devils and the Islanders are also, man, this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out for sure. All right, well, off the rush, and speaking of the next couple games, there's a big one coming up that has some reunions. Patrick Kane coming back to Chicago. You got Alex Sabourin coming back to Chicago, though he has returned, but not with the Red Wings. He's there, and they also have Chris Chelios' number getting retired in Chicago, former Red Wing as well. So lots of connections there. Devin, what are you looking forward the most for that game? I mean, it is in Chicago, so it's not in Detroit, but I mean, lots of storylines. So what's the biggest one you're looking at that game? That's happening on Sunday.
I'm actually really glad you highlighted that. That probably could have been a one good at the top of the show, honestly. Honestly, I'm most looking forward to Chris Chelios seeing his number retired. And it's because of his tie to both franchises, right? I think Chelios did had a great career in Detroit. I think he helped he won 2 cups with the Red Wings. I mean,
Yeah.
that's as good of a tenure as you could hope for at a spot. And I had Chili at Chili's Chili down in Detroit. Fantastic stuff. I think he's just one of those good kind of underrated like greats of the game. Like if you go down the list of like legendary defensemen, so to speak, in the NHL, I think he kind of gets overlooked. But he had a really long, really successful career. So kudos to him, and I'm really glad that this is the matchup that's happening for the event.
Mhm. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I just realized how many storylines are in that game. It's pretty crazy. Evan, what are you looking forward to in that game? I mean, obviously want the Red Wings to win it, but I mean, lots of great connections there.
Yeah, isn't Shelly's Chili gone now? I missed that place. God, the place was awesome. Are they all gone? I know that the one next to Comerica was there, and then that one's gone. But wasn't there another one
Yeah, there was one like
in Royal
near.
Oak or somewhere?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank right now. Yeah, and downtown somewhere.
Yeah, I love that
They
place.
they just opened one back up at the United Center. I saw that.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I love Chelios, man. I was interning for WXYZ ABC in Detroit when he got traded to the Red Wings, and we got to go greet him off the plane the day he was traded. And I always remember that. Nice guy, really nice guy. I met him a couple times. Huge fan. Yeah, I mean, what did the guy play till he's 50? I mean, gosh,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
he wouldn't retire. He wouldn't go down. But no, he was an amazing player, a fitness freak too. I mean,
Yeah,
he
Yeah.
yeah,
he really knew how to take care of his body. But yeah, I think that'll be special to see him get see his jersey go up in the rafters. Although I think his time with the Red Wings might be a little more significant considering he won the Cups. That didn't happen in Chicago. So also interested. I'd love to see it's always regardless of what team he's on, Connor Bedard is something to watch. So that'll be
Yeah.
absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Sider get some swings at that little kid. Yeah, that'll be good. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great game. I hope it's back and forth, exciting game. I mean, Blackhawks aren't the best team this season. They are one of the worst, actually. But hopefully it's a really good game for both sides because it should be. It should be good. I always loved Chelios too, just of how long he played in the league and how he kind of adjusted his game over the years. I mean, he was an offensive
Yeah,
defenseman in his early years, and then later on became just really tough as nails defensive defenseman and was still a very valuable guy even at his advanced age. You'd still want him on your team. And yeah, well, what a great veteran that it seemed like he never wanted to retire. And I'm surprised. I was surprised when he finally did because it seemed like he was just in the game for so long. So yeah,
that
that's good.
Atlanta Thrashers legend, Chris
Yeah.
Chelios.
Right. That's right. Yeah, I'm,
Played
hop-
for
I'm
so many.
hoping to see some octopi fly there at the down in
Me
Chicago.
too. Me
Yeah.
too.
Crazy lately with these last few games on the road. The Red Wings when they go on the road, they you go to these games and it's freaking half Red Wings fans, even more so sometimes certain teams. So seeing the octopi fly lately kind of brought up some memories for me that I wanted to share with you guys today. And so one of my memories is so I've done the octopi thing. This is a picture of me. That's 1996. That's me and my girlfriend's brother. There was a famous place. My grandmother actually took me, and my details are still sketchy because 96, that's a long time ago. So that's how old I am. But my grandma took me to the place where they sell these things, and I remember it being somewhere closer to downtown. We lived in Ann Arbor. And yeah, we were going to game. I want to say it was game 2 versus Colorado in 96, I think. Again, look at that hair, dude. Good Lord. Yeah, that's the soccer hairstyle. But so I was told what the guy that sold it to us. We ended up getting like the biggest one in the store. My grandma was great. She always supported my stupid sports fandom when I was little. And so the key is right. What we did right here is we boiled it, and that's what people need to learn. So if you're throwing octopi out there, people, first off, two things. One, be prepared to go to jail. Two, always boil the thing. Now, when you see people throwing their octopi out there, they just land like a big, looks like a hunk of slime.
Yeah.
But when you boil an octopi on the pan on the stove, it actually takes shape and starts to look like that, that Stanley Cup one that the Red Wings used to hold above the Jumbotron at Joe Louis Arena, and it actually turned purple. So I remember, I had now back in '96, Joe Louis, during the Red Wings playoff runs, all those great runs, they weren't as they would see that you had it stuffed down your pants, and they weren't gonna nowadays you're gonna probably get in trouble. So I stuffed it down my pants. I like triple wrapped it in Kroger bags, good old Kroger. And yeah, it was slimy and it smelled really bad. The people in front of me, because I was sitting, obviously sitting down with this thing under my shirt and my, my jeans, and I was like, oh God, someone's got to score here quick, man. 'Cause this thing, and I'm with my girlfriend and her parents, and then they don't care. We were pretty tight back then, so I think I believe it was Slava Kozlov scored the goal, and I threw it. And what I did, I tied a bunch of ribbons around all the tentacles, red and white ribbons, just so like people would know it was mine. And yeah, I mean, there was probably like 10 or 15 octopi back then. I mean, it was way more prevalent back then. But yeah, I launched it out there. Right, I got right behind Patrick Wall, and I was aiming for him because it wasn't that heated rivalry back then. I just wanted to drill him, and I think I missed it by a couple feet, but I guarantee he got some octopi, some kind of juice hit it.
Mutts.
But no, it landed in front of him. Sabaka, God bless him. I know he's not with the Wings anymore, but really sad story. But yeah, he picked mine up and he swung it from the ribbons that I tied around it, and it was great. And it was like one of the cooler sports things that I've got to do in my life. And yeah, it was pretty amazing, pretty disgusting, but at the same time pretty amazing. So it's nice to see that these fans are keeping that tradition alive with some of these big wins the Red Wings have had lately. So it's good memories, going down memory lane.
That's awesome. It's like I say, it's a lot more frowned upon now. I mean, you get in trouble quite a bit for doing it, but yeah, it's pretty crazy how much that was done during the playoff runs and Stanley Cups and all that. And it was a big tradition, and we'll see if people still try to do it. Obviously, they have been. We'll see what happens if the Red Wings do make the playoffs and have some big wins there. So yeah, that's a great story.
Someone threw one in Vancouver the other night, didn't they, Zator? I think they threw one in Vancouver, and the kid got arrested and got a $250 fine, and he got released and hit up the casinos. There's casinos in Vancouver, right? Casinos. I'm just making sure I have the right town. I'm not sure, but the story,
I believe so, yeah.
And yeah, he won $2,000 at the casino that night, so that paid off his ticket. So yeah, throw octopi, people. Go out there and throw them.
All right. Well, that's a great start. We'll see what happens throughout the next week. We got a couple great games coming up. It's back to back, the St. Louis Blues, and then that Blackhawks game. It's a weird road game in the middle of a bunch of home games. So they had a 2-game homestand here, and then they go on the road for one, and they're back home right after that. So it's weird how the schedule works.
It sucks.
It's so bad. Like, I don't get who's making these schedules, and it's so weird. But we'll look forward to that game, and we'll have our reaction to it next episode. So hopefully it's a good one. But make sure to check out all of our articles at hockeyriders.com. Lots of trade deadline talk. We got the Rasmussen thing got a bit of reaction there. We got an article out on that. Lots of stuff's probably going to happen in the next few weeks for the Red Wings, and hopefully there's a trade or two, and none that we don't like. But and hopefully playoffs again. We're talking more about the playoffs and more of a cushion in that wild card race. But check out all the Substack. We got some great stuff there too. Make sure you're checking that out in the link below. And hopefully Yzerman can rob some teams, some players.
Don't pick up your phone, GMs, because it's coming.
Until next time, we'll see you on another episode of The Grind Line.